Well, I suppose we should get started then. Hello everybody, it is your friendly neighborhood INFP, and welcome to the one, the only shipping, MBTI shipping, wall video thing. So let's get started, shall we? I am a little unsure if you can see this, but if not, I'll figure it out later on. I'm pretty sure you can. But anyways, the general norm of the MBTI shipping wall typically splits apart into 4 quadrants. The polar opposites, the inverted opposites, the IE counterparts, and the OTPs. And how these work are, well, quite different from one another. The typical opposites, which is the polar opposites, is one of the more familiar ones that people are aware of, and then of course the inverted opposites when it comes to opposites attract. Now of course this is going to go into the 4 quadrants of the MBTI types, and no, I'm not talking troll romances here. So let's start off with the polar opposites. What does it mean to be a polar opposite? Well, simply what it means is that your functions are flipped. So whatever your last function is, you're now with somebody who that function is their first function. Which means that with an INFP and an ESTJ, the functions are flipped. So it would be a T, Psi, Ni, Phi, instead of a Phi, Ni, Psi, T. So that is what you got with the INFP and the ESTJ, for example. Then of course you've got the INTP with the ESFJ, similar function switch. ISFP with the ENTJ, similar function switch. ISTP with the ENFJ. You're getting the point. I hope you're getting the point. And then INFJ, ESTP, which is a very common one. You'll always see the INFJ and the ESTP always together. I have now seen, I think, 4 or 5 couples that have been INFJs and ESTPs. It is a very common pairing between the two. Don't ask me how it happens, it just happens. It's one of the quadrants. It's the polar opposite quadrant. Then of course you've got the ISFJ with the ENTP, which I've seen talked about as well. INTJ with the ESFP, also seen talked about. And there are some of you who are going to be watching this video being like, see, I told you all, see. Now, I'm not saying that I am an expert in all things shipping related, but I like to think that I have a fair bit of knowledge. Then, of course, we have the ISTJ and the ENFP. Moving on, we have the inverted opposites over on this side. Now, what does an inverted opposite mean? Well, it means you have your functions are flipped to their counterparts. So phi becomes phi, psi becomes c, ti becomes t, etc., etc., etc. Which is why on this side of the quadrant, also popular pairings, you got the INFP with the ENFJ, you got the INTP with the ENTJ, ISFP with the ESFJ, ISTP with the ESTJ, INFJ with the ENFP, ISFJ with the ESFP, INTJ with the ENTP, and ISTJ with the ESTP. Very common trends as well. These two are perhaps some of the most popular commonality pairings that you might come and see in regards to all things shipping related. Of course, the INFP and the ENFJ is one of my favorites. There should be no surprise as to why. Then we have the IE counterparts. That is, we are going to be paired up with our extroverted counterpart. So that means INFP, ENFP, and so on and so forth. As you can see on this chart. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. From there, you will have your extroverted counterpart, and these are people you're going to get along with. They're more akin to a familial kind of relationship, or maybe more of one that they do and think of things that you're already thinking of but aren't doing. So for example, in the case of the INFP and the ENFP, which is one of my favorites, the INFP will think of something or think of several somethings, and the ENFP brings into action what the INFP is thinking. It's a very, what's the word I'm looking? Synchronatic bond, almost. Well, you can get there if you're close enough. Then we have the more interesting, not much talked about, OTP pairings. Now, if you'd like to know what I mean by OTP pairings, well, you've got the INFP with the ENTJ. Now, that is my OTP, my absolute OTP. And what that means is that they're going to share two of your functions and you're going to share two of their functions, and it's going to be switched. They're going to have two functions that you don't share, and then they're going to have two functions that you don't share. A perfect combination of you being able to learn from one part over the next. Which is why you got the introverted intuition with the extroverted intuition with the INFP and the ENTJ. It's also kind of flipped in a interesting kind of way, because with the INFP that goes by Phi Ni, this one goes by T Ni. So both your second function is the one that is kind of flipped, so to speak, and that allows you to, if you're in a healthy relationship, come across some interesting dynamics. So, with that being said, we've got the INFP and the ENTJ, like I said, one of my favorites. You got the INTP with the ENFJ, you got the ISFP with the ESTJ, you got the ISTP with the ESFJ, you got the INFJ with the ENTP, the ISFJ with the ESTP, the INTJ with the ENFP, and the ISTJ with the ESFP. And all of these functions are some of the most typical ones that you will see in the MBTI romance world. Now, some of you may disagree with these options, and that's fine. This is only but 4 quadrants of the whole scale of MBTI possibilities that are out there. There are introverted compatibilities. There is introverted sort of flipped polar opposites, or introverted flipped polar opposites, which means instead of an INTP being with their polar opposites, it will be the introverted polar opposite. So what did I say that was again? ESFJ? It would be the ISFJ. So, and for the INFP, it would be the ISTJ. So there are many different variations out there. I am just sharing with you some of the most popular. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree is none of my business, or actually maybe it is. And you have no idea why. But, to continue on, there be those out there who think that they know better than I. There be those out there that think they've got a better shipping idea than I. Who do you think I am? You don't know me. You don't know my shipping possibilities, the wonders of shipping of MBTI. But I digress. Shipping is a wonderful thing, and if I could have turned this into pictures, I would have. If I could have turned this into a interesting ordeal, I would have. But, with that being said, there are many shipping possibilities out there. And who best to come to for such a situation than one, as myself, a hard aspect. I'll let you be the judge on that one. With that being said, I hope to see you all next time.